Hey guys, welcome back. So to begin this look, I'm first applying the Wet n Wild concealer in medium Tawny. This is such a beautiful formula. It blends out really well. I was very surprised and I'm glad I finally found a shade that worked for me. For my brows, I'm applying the Maybelline Total Temptation Brow Definer in Deep Brown. This is actually really nice. I just wish that it was slightly more pointy so that I could give my brows a better definition. So definitely use the spoolie to blend it out so it doesn't give you any harsh edges. But you know, for Drugstore, it's pretty good. To clean them up, I'm also using the Wet n Wild concealer once more just to give me more of that polished look, especially since your girl has not gotten her brows done in a while. So this will help to make it look a little bit cleaner. As for eyeshadow, I'm dipping into this beautiful palette from Wet n Wild. This is the Rosé in the Air, which honestly guys, it looks just like the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. It is so gorgeous. So I'm using this light shade, which reminds me of Tempera, and then I'm using this transition shade, which looks just like Raw Sienna and Burnt Orange, and I'm placing that in my crease. I've been really enjoying this blown out crease effect. I feel like it just gives me that more bright-eyed effect and it makes it look like I have more lid space than I actually do. Here I'm using that orange shade, which reminds me of Regal, which is so beautiful and it blends out really nice. And I'm using a Kylie brush that I've had from the Peach palette. I actually want to film a tutorial with that peach palette and just like palettes that I haven't used in a really long time. So let me know if you guys want to see something like that. I'd be down to film it. And going back to this same palette, I'm using that reddish shade and I'm placing that all over my lid as well as the crease, and I'm building on that layered effect. It's super simple and you can really intensify it as much as you'd like. I loved how simple the look is, but I think it still gives it that extra pop. Using a Dose of Colors brush, I'm just going in with that same concealer just to cut out the crease a little bit. I wanted to still have that definition, but I want that lid shade to appear a little bit more vibrant. So I'm only doing half a cut crease, and it's not really like a super intense cut crease either. I've been really enjoying this technique. I just feel like, again, it makes my eyes look a little bit bigger and it gives me more space than I actually have. And here I'm just going in with a mixture of that red and that like orangey shade just to give me some more dimension. And here I'm using another shade which reminds me so much of Vermeer from the palette. It's so gorgeous and it's very pigmented. I'm using a small definer brush just to apply it, but you can honestly use your finger. I wanted it to be slightly more detailed than usual, but it was so stunning and I feel like this color would be perfect for an everyday look. Here I'm using a small Morphe brush just to give me more definition so that that red shade could pop a little bit more. And I wanted to help blend in that lighter shade on the lid just to give me more of that seamless blend so it didn't look as harsh. I've really been enjoying this small brush and I will list it down below for you guys, but it makes it super easy to give me that detailed work that might be a little bit harder to achieve with a larger blending brush. And I did use that transition shade just to blend it out a little bit more. Here I'm applying that brown shade as my liner. I know I didn't use any winged eyeliner or black liner for that matter, and I have to say I really enjoyed the way that it came out. It was like a nice change and it really looked pretty. And here I'm just applying that same red shade with a little bit of that brown just to give me some definition. I'm applying the Voluminous X Fiber Mascara from L'Oreal. Now this one's a little bit more on the pricier side, but honestly like it's not that bad. It's $10, but you could totally get away with like another Maybelline or even a Wet n Wild mascara and it'll still do the trick. For lashes, I'm using these Eylure lashes in collaboration with Jasmine Brown, I believe. And these are so stunning. Now I was really sad because the same day that I filmed this look, I lost a pair of them and I'm just like, I barely got to use them. They were so pretty. I'll probably purchase them again. They remind me a lot of the ones from Coco Lashes and House of Lashes, and they're really pretty. So here I'm just blending everything out, making it look really seamless. And I did go ahead and prep my skin with this Wet n Wild Luminous like dewy primer. It's really nice actually. And I'm using the Glow Goddess Glow Drops as well. I was really impressed with both of these products. I am an oily skin girl, so I was a little scared. So here I'm just using a Fenty Beauty sponge just to blend it out. You can use any kind, it'll still do the trick. And here I'm using the True Match foundation. This is such an oldie but a goodie. I use the neutral 6 color because it's like the only thing that really matches from that collection. I wish they would expand their shade range just a little bit more to be more inclusive with different undertones, but it's still a beautiful foundation nonetheless, and it usually doesn't run you any more than like $7, which is great from the drugstore. I'm using this Fenty Beauty sponge again to blend it out just so that I can give myself a nice even layer of coverage before applying more. Now here I used a little bit of that new Maybelline foundation and I realized immediately that it was just a little too dark, so I went ahead and just blended that out as much as I could before applying just a few more drops of the L'Oreal foundation. And I had to use the L'Oreal foundation again because I was reminded of how good it was once I saw Amanda Ensing using it. I was like, oh my god, I haven't used that in such a long time. I'll probably go into the store and just like, you know, try to get a few more shades of it, but it is a really pretty foundation. And the nice thing is that it's very buildable, so you don't have to worry about applying too much or too little because it will blend out. Of course, if you use a sponge, it will allow you to get rid of the excess product. So here, since I'm trying to apply a little bit more product and make it more full coverage, I'm using a brush to apply it a little bit more. And then here, I'm actually using the NYX Color Corrector just to give a little bit of extra coverage under the eyes. I've been having some dark circle problems and just like some spots of acne that just won't go away, so I like to use a color corrector just to give me that extra bit of coverage. And I'm trying to make sure that my lashes don't go away anywhere. So just blend that out. And I'm gonna go back in with that medium Tawny Photo Focus concealer from Wet n Wild. Now the only complaint that I have, and I've had this with other concealers in the past, is that they don't give you enough product when you use it. I know I had this issue with the Sephora collection one in the past, but if it's a good product, I don't mind struggling a little bit, and this concealer was definitely it. So it's probably one of my new favorite drugstore concealers. Again, it's like $4, you cannot go wrong. This is like beauty on a budget, and I'm so here for it. What I like about this too is even though I didn't have the winged liner, I can still create that nice crisp line to give the illusion of a lifted eye, which the wing liner typically gives me. Here I'm using the Coty Airspun powder to give me that extra, you know, like set and making sure that everything stays in place throughout the day. This is so great. I just wish it didn't smell so bad, but I do enjoy it for setting my under eyes and any place that I've concealed. And then for the other parts of my face, I am using the Maybelline Matte and Poreless powder. I believe I'm using the shade 320, but I don't remember, and it's quite nice. It's definitely not the Micro Smooth powder from Sephora, but I can still get away with it. I also really enjoy their other one, the Bare Skin one, or their Naked Skin. I forget, there's so many skin ones that, you know, it's hard, but it's a really pretty one. And to bronze up my skin, I'm using the Wet n Wild contour palette. This is really pretty. I think it's like Dulce de Leche or something. I forget the name, but I will list it down below for you guys. And not only am I using it to bronze, but with a more defined brush, I'm actually going to give my eyes a more defined contour. I don't know where I was going with that, but it's really pretty. And then for blush, I decided to use the Rose d'Oro because it matched the eyeshadow really nicely, and I didn't want to seem too washed out. And I don't know, I love blush. I can never get enough of it. I also really like nude blushes, but I wanted to give my skin a little bit more color than usual, and I think it did a beautiful job. Here I'm using the Wet n Wild highlighter. I believe Canopy, Bed of Canopy. I'm really bad with the names. I will list it down below because there's a couple of them, but they're so pretty and they actually blend super nicely. Not to mention, I am using the Wet n Wild highlight brush, which I think is sent from God, and again, no more than like $6. Super great, and I highly recommend it. Lately, I've been really into highlighting my brow bone as well as my inner corner, but I do prefer to highlight with a matte shade to start off with. I feel like it just gives me more of that polished look, and it gives the eyes that bright-eyed effect. Again, it makes it look a little bit more roomy between my eyes. I don't know how to explain it, but it definitely opens them up. And per usual, I am using the same shades that I used on the top of the eye underneath, just to give it a more balanced look. And I'm using a small Morphe brush as well. I try to not use too much, and I start off with most of the product, or most of the color, from the lightest shade to the darkest shade out in the outer corner. And again, I've really been enjoying this mascara from L'Oreal. I like to use it more on my lower lashes than I do on my top, but you know, it's still pretty good, and it has that fiber that I really like as well. Now for the lips, I'm using this NYX lip liner, and it's so gorgeous. It's one of their, let me double check the name before I ruin it. So the name of the lip liner is called the Slide On Glide On Lip Pencil, and it's in the shade Beyond Nude, and it's so gorgeous. It glides on like a dream, which is one of my favorite things in a lip liner. Very comparable to the MAC formula, if not better. I definitely need to go pick up more shades in this, and I've had this in my collection for quite some time, but clearly I've neglected it. And I like to not only line my lips, but I also fill them in with the same shade. You could totally leave it as is, or if you're extra, you can go ahead and use a lip or a liquid lipstick. Now here I'm using one of the matte ink from Maybelline, and it's a really pretty color. It's this shade Seductress. Gorgeous shade. The only issue that I had is that it is very sticky. It's very sticky on its own, and I wonder if it fades away, but when you first apply it, it just doesn't feel super comfortable, so I may have to play around with it a little bit more. I actually didn't get a chance to play as much because I did top it off with a lip gloss, and I topped it off with the NYX Glam liquid, what is this called? The Glam lip gloss in the shade Beat Goes On. It's super pretty. It reminds me a little bit of the Orgasm lip gloss from NYX, but a little bit more on the comfortable side, which is really nice. Now, to finish off the entire look, I always go in and just add some finishing touches, whether it's intensify the color a little bit more on the lid, add it to the inner corners, and deepen up the crease. You know, you gotta make sure you are completely done and making sure that it will last and that it will photograph really nicely as well. Because if you put in all the hard work, you want it to pay off. So that's exactly what I'm doing. And then once everything is completed, you are done with the look, and that is it. I really enjoyed this. It was so much fun to create. Let me know what kind of videos you want to see next, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys.